Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Kristen White, a clinical psychologist and mom of three, and this is the Mom Degree, where we provide support and tools to help women feel less crazy and be more effective in their role as moms. So we are continuing today in our series on self-care, and I want to give you guys a new tool and a new idea for how to institute it, but let me frame this real quick just in the context of a viewer question, which is basically going back a few episodes ago to when we talked about what do you do when the house is on fire? You remember, if you're overwhelmed, if you're angry, if you're anxious, right? When all these really intense emotions are already there and going on, whether it's chronic or momentary, we talked about you can breathe really well, you can distract, you can soothe. We talked about these different things. But the question was, okay, great, but what if I'm in the middle of disciplining a child, dealing with a crying baby, and I can't get away from them? Right? I'm in that place where I'm feeling overwhelmed by my anger or my anxiety or whatever, but I can't go away and read a book to distract or whatever it is. So what do I do then? Okay, so first of all, you keep breathing, you keep distracting, you keep soothing. You figure out some ways you can do that. You can breathe in any situation. You can distract by thinking about things you're grateful for, saying them out loud, right? You can go grab a stress ball and squeeze it while you're disciplining your child. So there are some things in the techniques and tools we talked about that you can do with the kids. And some of them might require you to pause for a second, which is okay. Your kids will survive. I don't mean like put them down and leave the room for 10 minutes, but maybe you just hold them on your lap before you dive into the discipline conversation. You both will benefit from it if you're both of you will have a chance actually to be calmer. Maybe you breathe together and the discipline conversation goes better, even if it takes a little longer to get there. So you do keep doing those things we talked about, and you don't just do them once. You don't just take 2 deep breaths and think like, okay, that helped, but now I'm getting angry again. You keep breathing. So you do all that stuff we talked about. And here's another one. You practice good self-talk. This is kind of a funny one, and that's just a fancy psychological phrase for basically talking to yourself, right? We all talk to ourselves all the time, guys. Some of us actually do it out loud. We're walking down the street and we realize like, oh, I need to censor that. And some of us, it's just kind of an internal dialogue that we may not even really be that consciously aware of. But on some level, we all kind of have some degree, some amount of inner dialogue. This can be the inner dialogue that's like, oh, next I need to blah, 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 blah. Or this can be the inner dialogue that thinks like, well, you really failed. You should have done that different. You look, fat today. So it can be just really benign. It's just, oh, look at that person, right? It can be benign about you, about others, or it can be really critical. It also can be positive. Sometimes this can be an inner voice of gratitude. Usually that has to be cultivated though. That doesn't happen for most of us just automatically. But the point is, we all have kind of this inner dialogue running. And one of the things we can do for good self-care and good coping is kind of take the reins of that and use that intentionally in our favor. Because a lot of times it ends up actually making life harder, especially in these moments we're talking about where we're feeling really intensely, we're angry or we're, whatever, then that our self-talk gets away with us. It starts making all these like generalizations, these always and never statements. It starts creating all these crazy catastrophic stories, right? So these internal, and again, we may or may not even be conscious of it, but even if we're not aware of it, it's going to impact our emotions and our mood. So all I know how to do to make this make sense is give you a personal example. So, and this will get to our tools too. So I've told you guys, for me, sleep is a big one. I've been in a tough stage the last month where I've been doing more of the kid stuff at night. My husband's awesome at tag teaming with me, and he's kind of not been able to help as much this month. And my kids simultaneously, one of them was sick for a while, so he was up all night. They're not good sleepers to begin with, and you just like give them a runny nose and it's like hopeless. And then my baby was teething for a while, and you guys are moms, you know how that goes. So sleep has really been kind of sucky this month, and that's my Achilles heel. I don't do well. So I had to start paying attention to my self-talk. I practice my breathing and those things when I'm just really tired, but I also pay attention to my self-talk, and I started to notice some themes. So thoughts like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. It'd be like 2 a.m. and all I could think was, I cannot handle this. Now, does that help? No. obviously it's not actually even true because I am handling it. So I'm not really giving myself credit, but it also is not helpful in any way to just think I can't handle this. Or then my brain will go crazy. I don't want to do this, right? This isn't fair. I shouldn't have to do this. Maybe I'd get angry that, my husband couldn't help me, or angry at the kids. Trust me, I have been angry at the baby for not sleeping because that makes a whole lot of sense. These are not logical things, and yet, especially when we're feeling those intense emotions, our brains can run away with us. So these are some of the things I was noticing my brain saying and realizing they're not helping. They're making things worse. So I want to intentionally take the reins of that and say, okay, if I was sane, and actually, by the way, we do this when we're calm. So in that moment, your brain is running away. It's really hard. You start breathing, but then you step back. So you can do this right now. What is a situation that's hard for you? For me, it's that like when I'm so exhausted, I can't even function. That's one that's hard for me right now. Maybe for you, it's when your kid starts whining, or when blah, blah, blah happens, when your partner does XYZ. I don't know. Pick a situation when you just get really angry or really anxious. You pick a situation, and this is what you think to yourself. If I was talking to my friend who was in that situation, or if I could even talk to myself, if calm me could talk to angry, anxious, sad, tired, blah, blah, blah me, what would I say? If that was a friend, what would you say? So here's some of the things I came up with for those middle of the night times when I'm like thinking I can't do this. This is what I wrote down. Stop saying, Kristen, stop saying you can't do this. It is immensely hard, but you are doing it, and it will end eventually. It is only a season. So this is a much healthier thing for me to think, a much more calming thing than I can't do this, I shouldn't have to do this, right? Just thinking that, I just can get in a tizzy right here. So stop saying, these are the things that I need to hear, that the sane me can tell the crazy me in those moments when I'm crazy. So this is self-talk. We basically intentionally take the reins and we turn our minds to rational, calm statements, and hopefully you individualize them to you. So hopefully you can come up with things that you would need to hear, thinking about this from a calm place or as if it was a friend. But if you need help, you ask other people. Again, try to ask ideally when you're in a calm place. And you come up with what are the things you need to hear, okay? And then here's the other tip, okay? So we're going to do this intentionally, but we're going to write it down. So seriously, I know you guys might think this is silly, but go get an index card, go get a piece of paper, pause the video. Here's why we do this. Remember we talked about when we're really feeling these emotions intensely, we can't think clearly. We have no blood in the front of our brain. So all those fancy statements that you came up with, you won't remember them. You will not be able to remember them. So you write them down someplace. You could put them in your phone if that's handier. You write them down and put them so that all you have to remember in those crazy moments are, where's my card? Okay, that's all. You don't have to remember what the statements were. You don't have to remember what the tools are. I call these coping cards, and I make these with clients all the time. They are not like a panacea, but they are a cheat sheet for when we're crazy. What are those things we knew we were supposed to do when we were calm, but now we can't remember because our brain's not working right? So what are the things we do to get our brain back online? By the way, I write the whole thing out here. So mine says, I don't know if you guys can read it, probably not. I write at the top, and I have clients do this too. What is the situation we're addressing? Because you might need more than one card. So mine says, when I am so tired, I can't stand it. Then number one is breathe. That's almost always the first one. Just like we talked about, go back to that other video, practice it. Write it down. That's the first thing. Take at least 2 or 3 big deep breaths. Then you write down your self-talk. Specifically, write down all those statements that you think would help calm you down. And then you can continue your list. What are other things you can do in that moment when you're really upset? So my third one is be grateful. And I even specifically wrote, starting with the fact that God gave you this family as well as this day. Right? So I got to remember in those moments that I want to kill all of us because I haven't slept, that at least I have these kids. At least God bless me with them. And one day they will sleep. So I wrote that down. Then I said I need to breathe a little bit more and maybe visualize a peaceful place. I even wrote down a couple specific examples to help me calm down. Notice at this point, that is all stuff you can do while you're holding a crying baby, while you're trying to discipline your child. Again, you might have to pause with them. Some of it you can like breathe while you're disciplining them, but some of it, it takes 5 seconds to remember these things, and your discipline conversation will go much better. My last one is then, if I'm still having a hard time, to reach out to somebody, text or call a friend, a family member, pray and ask God for help. So that might be a little harder to do until you're out of the situation. But there's no magic. Again, get a card though. This is your mom challenge. Get a card or a piece of paper. Identify your situation right at the top. When I'm so tired, when I'm so angry, when I'm so anxious, when my kids are whining. I don't care. 1 is breathe, always. 2 is your self-talk. What are the things crazy you needs to hear from calm you? And then you can make your list beyond that. And then you put this card in a place that you will see it and always have access to it. So sometimes I tell clients to keep them in their wallets because you need to always have it with you, or take a picture of it on your phone. This is mostly an at-home thing for me. That's where I struggle with this. When I'm out and moving, I'm okay. So I put it just right in the center of the kitchen where I see it when I'm walking past. And I can also, if in that moment, it helps me remember, it helps me access it, it's easy to find. So you guys, seriously, this is good stuff. I do it too. I do it with clients all the time. You're getting this for free. I charge $150 an hour. You're getting this for free. Go get your freaking card. This is your mom challenge, and write it out and try it for a week. By the way, if you have older kids, I was brave enough to tell my daughter, Mommy's working, I'm being grumpy. I know it's been a little harder because I'm not sleeping. So here's how you can help me. First of all, you cannot be whiny and stuff. I did tell her that. Second of all, when Mommy seems like she's getting kind of grumpy, you can ask me, Mommy, where's your card? She's not quite 4. Trust me, she's asked me many times, many of which I didn't think it was the right moment, but God bless her, she's helping. Okay. I know I'm over. Guys, we just have to say these are going to be 12 minutes because that seems to be the fastest I can do it. I'm sorry. I know your lives are crazy. I'm trying. That is your mom challenge, though. Go get your card, write it down. Let me know. What's your situation? What questions do you have? How does it go? I want to hear it. Write me your comments, questions, thoughts. Like my page if this is helpful. Subscribe on Facebook if you want to see more because they don't always show up in your feed. And let me know how I can help and bless you guys. Seriously, I do this for a living, but I just want to help, and I love being a mom, and I want us all to be sane together. So let me know. I think that's it. Much love and many blessings. Until next time on the Mom Degree. Thanks, guys.